It's an absolute pleasure to be speaking to both of you. Simply this, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great. It's really good to be here as well. It's nice to be able to speak to you guys after so long.
Yeah, same from me, really. I think this is probably, for me, the first interview I've ever done in my life. But no, all things considered, yeah, we've had a good year. I think we went into the year not really knowing what was going to happen, what with COVID and everything. Are gigs happening still? Are festivals happening? Are we even going to be able to release like an EP or record anything? So considering where everybody was at the start of the year, you know, to where things are now, it's COVID seems like a bit of a distant memory, which is a good thing, I think. It's amazing how quickly things have changed. You know, considering this time last year we hadn't even played a show in about 18 months. So no, things are looking up, I think.
No, for sure. I mean, we're at the end of August 31st at the time of recording, and festival season in this country, the big ones, is pretty much done. Everything ran like it should. If you went to any, you wouldn't have noticed really that COVID was a thing at all. We've kind of just moved on, and it's great that you're out being able to gig. And of course, we're on the long and winding path to the release of your debut EP, Spiritual Disease, September 9th. So not too long to go at all. When did this EP first start to form in your heads? And did you have an initial vision of what you wanted it to be?
Do you want to go, Brody, on that one?
Okay, yeah, sure. It's been a sort of a long sort of process. Throughout COVID, we had a little bit of a lineup change, and our current guitarist Chris, I say current as though he's going to leave, he's not, but yeah, Chris, our new guitarist, we only really started practicing with him. It's probably about this time last year, wasn't it, Wag?
Yeah,
it's
July,
probably
August.
it was about the summer last year, and it was sort of like we're sort of using this EP as sort of like a kickstart for the band as well. It's slightly different, ever so slightly, to stuff we've done in the past, but it's definitely a move forward into the direction that we want to go. I think playing shows live to the extent we did pre-COVID sort of let us know. I think it all gave us a better idea of which direction we want to head. And we sort of like spoke and sat down with Chris, started writing, and pretty much from last summer until Christmas, that was when the EP was written. We recorded it with Joe Clayton up in Manchester, who's from Pine and Leached. We recorded it between January and March in various, you know, like 2-3 day spells. And it's been ready since March. So yeah, released on the 9th of September. It feels like a long, it feels like it needs to come out now, because it's been, you know, because of COVID, 3 years since our last EP.
So you're at that stage now where you're kind of just desperate to get it out into the years. Obviously, it is a long and long-winded path to a release. It's part and parcel of the industry, but you're at this point now where you're just chomping at a bit.
I would say so.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a long process, but I think for us it's been worth it, because we've been able to, because it's been kind of written since December, we've been able to kind of road test it with the shows we've managed to play earlier this year as the singles have come out. Also the festivals like 2000 Trees was great to kind of go there and play the EP, even though a lot of people hadn't heard any of the songs. So it's just good to kind of see a little bit of a precursor as kind of how they might go down in live settings. And the feedback we've got so far has been really good. So we're just really excited to get it out on the 9th and see where it goes from there, really. So
in that live environment, people hearing the new tracks and hearing the music played live, when you say feedback, are they coming up to you afterward and saying, hey, that was an awesome song or whatever? Or is it simply you looking at and going, they're going ballistic or nuts for this particular track?
it's kind of been a bit of both, really. Like, definitely finding, I think we're getting a better crowd reaction when the song's being played. But definitely also afterwards, kind of, I mainly sit on the merch table afterwards and try and sell a few t-shirts and things. And we definitely seem to get quite a lot of praise and people coming up to us and saying that was really good. Especially some people who've seen us kind of previously and now with the new lineup, I do think, even though I'm biased, obviously, like there is a step up in terms of what we're doing, and like obviously it does help that Brody and myself have been doing this for a few years prior, but so we kind of know what we're looking for. Chris has kind of bedded into that really well, and also Jake, who's been playing bass for us, he kind of just he gets it. So it's all kind of come together quite well over the last couple of months.
Yeah, I get a distinct impression, having heard the EP, but also just paying attention to what you've been doing over the past 12 months or so, that there's a confidence in Grief Ritual that's making you stand out that little bit more, in particular as well when it comes to even some of the themes and writing behind the EP, considering the EP is a metaphor for mental illness brought on by the state of the world. Answer this then. Was it a struggle to portray those kind of feelings when effectively, day by day, things got and continue to get worse?
I'd kind of say, like, we didn't set out to kind of write an EP about this. And like when we were first kind of going in terms of the actual writing, they maybe weren't the themes, but as we kind of progressed, and because I write most of the lyrics and kind of sort out most of the themes of the songs and the titles, they just kind of fell into place and started to fit. 'Cause obviously, as we were writing and putting the finishing touches to them, it kind of it was as COVID was coming to an end almost. So although obviously like the political situation in the world has been getting worse and worse, unfortunately, there were some positives to take from that as well. And it's kind of I think just about sticking that all down onto the page and across and getting that across in the songs. Kind of, it's almost like a protest record in a way, without being that, because it's kind of like really expressing those frustrations of how someone with kind of mental health issues and kind of physical issues might feel, because of what's happening and how kind of the state of the world needs to change.
So I think it's fair to say that the end product, it reflects being warped by time and circumstances more than anything else.
Sure, it's definitely I'd say a product of its environment in terms of like what's been going on in the world the last kind of, I'd say 12 months, but it's probably longer than that really, because of everything's been going on almost since kind of Brexit in the UK. Like everything's just been getting worse and worse, and with the winter we potentially got ahead, it's going to get worse. It's going to get a lot worse, unfortunately, which is just, it's really frustrating just as an everyday person to be working, not kind of knowing if you're going to be able to pay your bills. And like, I've got a pretty good job, fortunately, but even then it's still a struggle to kind of see where things are going. So I know there's a lot of people who are a lot worse off than me. So I don't really know how they would be able to kind of make ends meet in that situation going forward.
There is no arguing with the absolute mess of things right now, and particularly as you touched and you talk there, I can already see what kind of happens, which is this discussion. It leads into so many different facets because of there's so many different problems. As a group, as Grief Ritual, as a unit, how do you keep such an array of thoughts and feelings in order? And when it came to condensing that into something like spiritual disease, where did you struggle the most?
I'd say one thing that we're quite good at is actually managing to sort that out. Because all the songs that we write in terms of their structure and what they're based on, we kind of start with a wider idea and then drill down into what we're actually trying to do. So we're quite lucky in that respect. Like a lot of the songs were written kind of in a certain way, and then we got to a point where we thought we'd finished, left it a little bit, came back to it later and kind of worked on each of those individual parts so that they're now kind of the pieces that are going to be released on the 9th, where they're in the finishing touches. And because we got to the point where we just thought there's nothing more that can be taken away or added from those. So in a way, they're kind of that piece. So obviously, in terms of the worst thing about it, I guess it's the time it can take sometimes. But equally, it serves its own purpose because we work on the songs so much that they get to the point where you can't possibly do we think, but you can't really possibly do anything more to them. So it's kind of, it's a blessing and a curse almost, because sometimes you can think a song is completely finished and you've poured your heart into it, and then you'll think a couple of weeks later, just go back to it, and you'll be actually like, no, that could be so much better if we just changed this, or or try something else out there, which I think Brody probably agree. Kind of, we really kind of try and revise and go over things as a trio, or on the fourth with Jake, and it helps that Jake's really good at helping us write the songs as well. So
yeah, I think more so than like before, this is the first time we've ever been able to actually demo some of our songs, and because we've been a band for a few years now, I think it's the first time we've actually written a song, left it for a bit, gone back to it. Really, like, I would say this is probably Wag's best lyrics and vocal work in general, and I think that's just because, like he was saying, we really looked at each song, each section, you know, what's being said, the flow of it. We really did spend quite a lot of time, because we had quite a lot of time to sit on it. We really have sort of like been a lot more concise than I think we have been in the past, and being able to demo it definitely helped this time. Hopefully we can still do that in the future.
It's that, isn't it? Because obviously the time afforded to do all what you've been able to do for Spiritual Disease is good, all good and proper. But whether or not you would have that in the future as things effectively, as we say, get back to normal, and you're on a bit of a time constraint. I get the impression, though, what you've learned and what you've taken from the entire period is something that is part and parcel now of the makeup of Brief Ritual going forward.
100%, yeah. Sorry, Wag, go on.
No, you go ahead. Yeah.
I didn't have anything to say. But yeah, I think moving forward, one of the like really good things that Chris has brought to the band is being able to, before, a lot of the ideas were written in the jam room, whereas now we can listen to it, take time, come up with ideas. So when we get together, it's really productive. And it's a lot more focus based, whereas before it was a bit like just a few mates getting together every week and seeing what comes out. Whereas now we feel like we've got a definite purpose when we go into practice. We know what we want, we know what we're going to do, we know where the songs are heading. And yeah, I think, Wag, anything else?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think one thing with us as well is like we're not all based in the same place. So when we do get together, which isn't unfortunately very often, we have to find ways kind of to work around that and make sure, as Brody says, we are productive when we do get together. So there's a lot of like demo sharing away from that, a lot of kind of just talking, and it also helps that we all really get on with each other, because we're all heading towards, we all want kind of the similar things, and I think that really helps. Like being in any band, obviously you need to get on with the people you're working with, otherwise it makes it a whole lot harder. And that we all do get on and like can have a good laugh, aside from just writing music. It's not all about that, which it just makes things so much easier.
That determination and that unity that you have now as a group, is that what you would potentially point at as saying is the biggest change in the mentality of Brief Ritual as you stand here in 2022, say compared to a few years ago?
Potentially, yeah. I think on a whole, we just really know what we want to do now and want to achieve, where previously we were kind of a bit naive in terms of the way we were approaching things and the way we were working, where we probably didn't make the most of kind of opportunities we had and the time we had. But obviously with everything that happened, you kind of appreciate what you've got to do more, I think. And we did use the time that fortunately we had, kind of where we were doing nothing, to kind of really reappraise how we were approaching everything. And moving from that, I think we have applied ourselves a lot differently in the last year. So yeah, I kind of agree.
I think the end result speaks for itself. And particularly, one of the things I always really enjoy is when a band becomes almost undefinable when it comes to genre terminology. You're part of a modern set as well that seems to sit outside of a genre constraints. Bands you're often, for fans of, and then these bands are listed alongside Brief Ritual. I guess I want to ask you, is that a purposeful direction, or have you naturally kind of evolved and found what works for you in regards to the different elements you throw into the Brief Ritual melting pot?
I'd say it's not something we set out to do. Like, we've never kind of had a set genre in mind, because we've all got different influences and different likes, and we're from kind of different but similar musical backgrounds. So I think kind of what you see with us and what you listen to and hear is kind of, it is a real melting pot of those ideas that we've we're just trying to push across and kind of take the best parts from the genres that we love and the kind of the songs that we like and the artists that we like and kind of interpret them in our own way. So I guess you could call us like a crossover band, because I think we consider ourselves kind of like a blackened metallic hardcore band. Maybe a bit of post metal and death metal thrown in there, but equally it's kind of those genres touch on each other but don't sit together nicely. So it's difficult to kind of say, and I think different people, depending on their musical background and what they listen to, see different things and interpret different things in different ways. So it's kind of all on the listener as well there, which it's great if different people see different things in us, because it means there's something there kind of for everyone almost.
I'm sure you guys would agree. Not a fan of pigeonholing anyway, although it's got a purpose and a sense to it. The whole "you belong in this genre," it's too limiting. Sure. And yeah, forget all of that. Be you, be whatever you want to be.
No, I agree completely. I think like, especially in terms of music, like it's an art form. Like you should be kind of expressing yourself in the way you want. And like for me, some of the best shows I've played have been mixed bills. Like especially like at a festival where you can go and see one band and then go see another band who's completely different to you, and have an amazing time at both, just because you can celebrate the difference between them. And also there's more than one way to do something and express an idea, which I think in music that should be celebrated.
You played some festivals where you know, the array of genres and bands is insane. When people talk about Grief Ritual, this is me just doing a natural wander around in the depths of social media. It's often regarding how spectacular you are in the live environment. So, is this EP the complement to that aspect of who you are? If you want to get the full Grief Ritual experience, as it were, you now have the EP. Fantastic. You can listen to that in your headphones via streaming services, etc. on September 9th. But if you really want to see and know Grief Ritual, you got to get to a show, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I would say we are better live, which I think a lot of people kind of would kind of say. But the EP is really good. Like, it's definitely the best thing we've ever produced. And Joe Clayton is a big part of the reason that he's done an amazing job on the way making it sound kind of, it has kind of almost how we would imagine it would like to. Sorry, the way we'd have liked it to sound before we went to record with him. So it's kind of, yeah, definitely a compliment to, I think, we're one of those bands, and I know it's a cliche, but we put everything into the live shows. So it's kind of, I think we're a band that you'll know you've seen us, whether you like it or not, kind of thing. There's no kind of half measures with us when we play live.
The tracks that have been released so far online. Now, we've had the feedback in a live environment, but do you pay much attention to the online feedback, the comments that come your way from what's been heard, be it social media or on YouTube and stuff like that? And how have you found that side of the reaction?
It's kind of difficult not to pay attention, but equally kind of, I don't think we really mind either way. Like if we get any negativity or positivity, it doesn't really bother us either way, because we're kind of putting the music out for ourselves. But obviously it's always nice to know that people are enjoying it and people are listening, like that. And that's a big positive, kind of, especially in this day and age, that you can kind of potentially reach so many people from all around the world. Like we've had people listening kind of in like Iceland and Malta and Finland that we wouldn't know, they wouldn't have been able to listen to us like in the past. So it's amazing where you can find people from. Same with like America, we have people listening to us in that country, where that's a huge place to have your music heard.
That's mainly my cousin though, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Small positives of stat obsessions. It can get dangerous as it were, but if you can spot elements like that, that's a massive positive. Then, gents, for you, what is the biggest challenge for Grief Ritual to break out of the UK underground scene, as it were? And how do you plan to achieve it?
Do you want to go for that one, Brody?
Cheers, mate. Yeah. I think for us, we love writing music, we love practicing, we love getting together. But I think for me, especially with our genre, it's all about playing live shows. That's why I do it. I think that's why anyone who's a musician really does what we do. And before COVID, that was how we were making sort of all of our steps forward, because we are a DIY band. We don't have any like management or anything like that. We book our own shows pretty much. And it's all just been forward like momentum from day one. And I'm pretty confident this is the best stuff we've ever written and released, like by far. So I'm just excited now to see what comes out of releasing this EP, what's going to come in the next year. We've got some cool stuff lined up towards the end of the year and maybe at the start of next year. So things are looking pretty positive for us at the minute.
Basically, keep doing what you're doing and you'll get there, basically.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of, for us, it's all about just maintaining momentum and kind of trying to push on like in any way we can possibly do. So there's although there's kind of things we'd like to achieve, a lot of the things we've done so far as a band are kind of the things we'd set out to achieve just being a band in the first place. So it's all a bonus now to us, but obviously you get to a certain level and you want to push on from there. Like, I just think that's a natural way to be. So for us, it's just, yeah, like Brody says, it's about getting the record out, seeing what happens and maintaining that momentum and pushing forward, I think.
Yeah, it is all about that. All the focus right now, September 9th, Spiritual Disease. It's an immense release, guys. I'm really, really pleased. It's turned out bloody great, and I hope it is as spectacular for everybody else as I think it is. Before you go, you briefly touched upon it. What else might you have in the works for the remainder of 2022 and into 2023 that you can, of course, talk about?
Unfortunately, I don't think there's anything we can say. We've got a couple of shows. We've got a couple of shows lined up that we've not announced yet. So they'll be appearing quite soon on our social media. And hopefully people will be as excited about those as we are.
There's an EP release show coming up soon.
Yeah, that's what we can say, but
that's vague.
Yeah.
Vague is fine.
Yeah.
It means stuff is going on. That's all that matters. That stuff. You're not telling around, oh, we don't know. We'll see what happens. Stuff is going on. Pay attention to your socials and we'll find it there. Brief ritual. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for speaking to us. It's been great.
Cheers, Carl. Thank you very much, mate.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?